Episode 5 of the Magical Revolution was absolutely freaking amazing. Oh my gosh, like everything about this episode was just pure gold. I mean, we actually had an isekai show where a dragon's not CGI. Can we at least acknowledge that the dragon was not CGI and very well animated? Like the whole episode, like gosh, the animation was absolutely incredible. The visual shots, the character perspectives. Some people even point out the fact that they had the same shot from when Anisfia first welcomed Euphyllia to run away with her was like literally copied into this episode, which was really fantastic. But just, yeah, the overall animation and the emotion in the characters' faces and the action and everything was just perfect. But no, I think the culmination of this episode is the development of Euphyllia and Anisfia. Like we literally got Euphyllia finally accepting her new life. And not only that, but not wanting to let it go. Like she finally found something and she doesn't want it to go. And yeah, Anisfia, I don't know what they're doing. The curse and Anisfia literally going, essentially showing the side effects of what she uses and how much that terrifies Euphyllia, which I think was a nice showing of, despite my frustration with her choosing to do it now in front of Euphyllia, is almost like her not understanding what that does to people around her. But gosh, I'm getting ahead of myself. This episode was so incredible. I loved it. Oh man, this episode was massive hype. But no, we open up the episode with them first arriving there. The knights are there fighting. They're pretty much decided at that point the adventurers not gonna get here. The knights are not gonna get here. We gotta hold the line with the adventurers and essentially give our lives to protect the kingdom. But yes, Anisfia shows up. They point out the fact that, yeah, you're the only one that would probably get here in time. But this is where we have the first scene of, again, that indication that Euphyllia doesn't want to lose Anisfia. As Anisfia is leaving, she's obviously decided that she's going to go fight this dragon herself and leave Euphyllia behind to help them out. And again, like I said, I got kind of frustrated with this scene, but at the same time, I understand what Anisfia is doing here. She just goes, oh, that's all right. I got these pills. I'm going to take these pills. Oh, yeah, they're crushed magicite. They have some side effects, but they're not that bad. They just make you, like, super hyper and you lose your sense of reasoning. And again, she so casually says this. She's literally telling Euphyllia, this drug changes me, and they have these effects on me. They're literally magicite, something drawn from monsters. And yet she's casually taking it, completely disregarding the fact that it might harm somebody else seeing that. Again, if Euphyllia's got feelings for Anisfia at this point, Anisfia taking something that harms her scares Euphyllia. But yet, Anisfia doesn't see that. She just so casually goes, well, this is something I normally do, and just pops it in her mouth. And it terrifyingly lacks compassion for those around her that care for her. Again, this is putting us in the perspective that Anisfia doesn't seem to have a broader picture of things. She's so dead focused on the idea of gaining power, gaining magic. That's her obsession, is magic. And we seen that in that brief flashback just before they left the villa. Euphyllia gets the answer that we were kind of talking about in the last episode. Why is Anisfia so obsessed with magicite? Why does she want this? And Anisfia says, this is the only way that I can become a magician. I want that dragon's magicite because I want to use it to embed it within me so that I can use magic. I've tested a couple times. It should be safe, but it should be. Like there's no guarantee here. She's just literally saying, I want this. This is the only thing I can think about. This is important to me. Being a magician is important to me. Protecting people's smiles as a magician is my one and only goal. And so she lacks that compassion for those around her in fearing for her life, that this magicite embedding into you, yes, technically could turn me into a dragon, or a monster rather. A magicite in a human body is probably not a good thing, but that's all she cares about, is becoming a magician. But again, it's the only way that she sees it possible. But yes, back to when she takes the pills, she literally goes crazy. And again, it sucks because my mindset's like, why wouldn't you do this away from Euphyllia? Like, you've formed some sort of bond. Why would you want to show her something that's going to basically terrify her? You would think that she would leave here, then take it, and then whatever effect it has on her. Because again, it technically makes her crazy. Like, she goes absolutely nuts. And the only thing that really snaps her out of it as she's just destroying all these monsters is when Euphyllia finally shows up and assists her. And yes, uses explosion magic. Yes, my mind immediately heard Rie Takahashi, explosion. But again, that's kind of that sad thing. It snaps Anisfia out of it. Like, she's no longer in this crazed state. But the moment that she sees Euphyllia use this magic, she's like, oh, that's right. Her magic's beautiful. She wants it. Again, Anisfia wants that. That's exactly what she wants. And Euphyllia, in helping her, essentially just showed her it again. But yes, she goes up there, starts fighting the dragon alone, realizes that really quickly that her blade's not affecting it. And until it finally attacks her, she shields it for a brief moment, then starts to fall. And my gosh, this scene, I got emotional. I got so emotional with this scene. I mean, this scene and what comes after it. But yes, she darts to Nisvia. I need to catch her just like she caught me. And eventually, Ophelia, in this brief moment, learns how to fly. I thought for a moment it might just be like some super fast dash, but she literally started flying, and it confirms it later when she says, I literally know how to fly now. I think it's kind of abasing the idea that she's been flying around with Nisvia, that she's somehow learned what that magic is, and thus she's able to use it. I mean, again, this is a genius magician. But yes, she catches her and then literally chews her out. Because Nisvia's like, all right, cool, time to go out again. I'm going to pop another pill, and it frustrates Ophelia. She nearly died. She nearly lost this thing that she's finally obtained, and she can't understand why Nisvia is doing this. And we know why, but Nisvia clarifies to her. That's what it means to be a magician. To her, this is what it means. That thing's going to take away smiles, and a magician should protect smiles. And I like this because this is kind of similar to an earlier statement by Ophelia. When she first let Nisvia go, she said, I understand what you're saying. I understand why you have to do this, but I can't agree with it. Same thing here. She can't understand why she feels that way, but she wants to protect it, to take her with her. She doesn't want to let her go, and she doesn't want her to die. Again, finally, Ophelia has gravitated, like magnetized to Nisvia, and she doesn't want to let her go now. She's finally found a different purpose in her life, and that is to be by Nisvia's side and protect her. She wasn't commanded to do it. like we were talking about in the previous episode, she wasn't commanded to do it. She wasn't told to do it. She didn't get orders. She's finally decided on her own this is what she wants to do. And it's a huge, massive growth point for Ophelia. It sucks that it took us going through a catastrophe scenario before she finally realized that, but that was enough for her. Sometimes you don't realize what you really want until you're just about to lose it. But yeah, they fly up there, and through Ophelia's kind of guidance, they strike it from behind, take off one of its wings, and yeah, it has one last attack. Which, yes, Nisvia has to release the limiter on her magical weapon, do a gigantic Excalibur. Ophelia pretty much protecting her from behind, telling her, you're going to make the impossible possible. I'm watching and protecting you. Again, tying it to the previous discussions, this is Ophelia accepting that Nisvia is dead set on doing the impossible, to create new things, the magicology that she's doing. Her whole goal is to make the impossible possible, to give everybody magic, essentially. And Ophelia has decided right here that she will be at her side and help her. But that's where things get really, really weird, and I don't know what they're doing here. First, let's establish what happens. She walks to the dragon. The dragon says, well done, visitor. She says, me? Are you talking about me? He says, do with my corpse what you please. But when Nisvia says, you must resent me, I'm sorry, it seems to make the dragon mad. Like, he laughs first, and then he says, that's truly amazing. He says, engrave this upon your soul. My existence, the symbol of my being. Carry their weight upon your shoulders for all eternity. Then she says something in effect that she feels some words or wisdom carving into her. Then he says, the one who slayed me, forever bear this curse. Okay, let's unpack this. Now, first, let's cover the fact that he said visitor. Okay, so he obviously knows that she is an isekai, that she's from another world. And again, so far in this series, what we've established is that she's only seen visions of her previous world. This isn't an isekai where they suddenly go, oh, now I remember everything about my previous life, and that I grew up in Japan, and that I had this family, and that I died by being hit by a truck. That's not what they're establishing here so far. With this series, they've only established that she had a brief image of her previous life, seeing planes, and that's what inspired her to want to fly. And that's when she started magicology. So when he says, well done, visitor, she doesn't take it as we do. We take it, we see that, we go, oh, he knows that she's an isekai. She hears visitor, what are you talking about? Now, the odd thing about this whole scene is that he seems to be acceptant that she defeated him. Now, in typical lore with dragons, they're wise. They're old, they're powerful, and they're wise. They're very, very wise, often living for many generations. And typically, they'll accept when somebody defeats them, that person should be honored. So I almost feel like when she first walks up, he's like, well done. You defeated me. Take your reward. He's accepting that she is powerful and she defeated him. She should be honored. But I think what happens here is that even though he just said, you know, I've lost, there you go. Do whatever you want. Instead, she says, I'm sorry, you must resent me. She's basically insulted him at that point. I think that's what this is establishing. She insulted him at that point. You must be mad. You got defeated. And that's not what she's exactly saying, but she's basically in his eyes, she's insulting him. So he laughs. He's amused. Now you could say that he's saying, oh my gosh, this lady, she has compassion and I'm going to give her a gift. But no, he's cursing her. So I think he's mad. He's going to engrave something upon her soul. Now, what is that? That's the big question mark. I don't think it's cursing her to use magic, because then it kind of defeats the whole purpose of what Anisfia is doing. Her gaining the ability to use magic at this point makes everything useless. So what is that curse? It is wisdom. It is information of some sort. The question is, what is that? My assumption at this point is that it's going to be a mass of knowledge. Again, typically in most lore, dragons are very old. And it's possibility that the dragon bestowed upon her knowledge of the history of the world itself. And there's a possibility that she can use that wisdom to know all magics and whatnot. She won't be able to use it, but she can technically take that knowledge and apply it to magicology. So if there's some lost art of magic back in the day that has been lost by mankind, she can recover that using magicology. And I think that's the direction it's going. Now, why is it a curse is the question mark. Is the curse just knowledge that is unsettling? Is it history that is hard to accept? Is it a burden of this knowledge that is the curse? Don't know. I'm kind of bugged that we just kind of jump straight to this whole after party and that's it. So hopefully it doesn't take too long. Maybe in the next episode, you'll have Anisfia go, after that whole thing happened, I start having these visions of some sort of knowledge of the past. Again, my assumption is that it's going to be lost arts, lost the history of the world itself, and again, the burdens that come with that. But yeah, despite my wanting more information there, I did love the whole after party. It's Anisfia not wanting to be a part of it. Euphilia kind of pointing out the fact that she doesn't like to be touched by men. Like, this whole situation with Algard has basically made her afraid of men, which kind of goes with Anisfia. Anisfia doesn't want to be pregnant and doesn't want to be with a man. So yes, the Yuri continues to increase with this show, which is fine. I'm all for it. I ship it. But no, it goes into the fact that Euphilia points out to Anisfia that she saved her on that day. She's acknowledging that Anisfia saved her on that day. But not only that, she's acknowledging that Anisfia gave her a new opportunity. She opened the door for her when she thought that she had failed everything and the doors were shut on her. She's gained purpose. And again, she chose it. She wasn't ordered to do it, which is exactly what she honestly needed to do. But not only that, but Anisfia has become someone that's so precious to her that she can't let her out of her sight and that she wants to remain at her side. Confirmed Yuri. They're all over each other. Which again, people pretty much indicate that this is going to be one of those shows where they're not going to just Yuri bait it. This is literally one of those ones that's going to have these two actually be in a relationship. And again, like I said before, I love the two of them. They're fantastic. But yeah, fantastic episode. I freaking love this episode. This episode was so freaking good. Again, Euphilia finally acknowledging Anisfia and not wanting her to be harmed. Anisfia and her, again, I hate it, but at the same time, it makes sense. Her lack of understanding that those around her is harmed by her harming herself. That she so wants this power that she's willing to put herself in danger, and she doesn't realize those around her are harmed by that. And yes, the curse, which I really hope we get more information about soon enough. It's so great because this is one of those shows where it makes me honestly question why the overpowered main character works. Now, granted, I think they did really well in giving those side effects. Like, yes, taking the magical medication makes her go crazy, and it's terrible, and there's side effects to it. She's literally charging in there without any sense of reasoning, which would put you in harm. But additionally, releasing the limiter, how that affects her physically. She literally put herself in a position where she's going to die. And in the end, yes, we don't expect that Anisfia is going to die. So there's a sense of, it almost feels like she's overpowered. Now, I would argue that it's overpowered by essentially finding a way around limiters, finding a way to gain power rather than it just being bestowed upon you. She is using her hard work and dedication to gain that power, not by training herself, but creating tools to give her that power. But in the end, I think what it kind of comes down to is that it makes sense and it works for me with this particular show is because they do such a good job of establishing the characters beforehand. You love the characters, you like the characters, so you want them to be strong and overcome something. Unlike another show where you could possibly not like the overpowered main character because you just don't care about them. So hearing people praise how overpowered they are doesn't work. And granted, with this, it kind of works as well because you don't have people constantly saying that, oh my gosh, you're overpowered. Now, granted, the soldiers at the very beginning kind of pointed out, you know, here, she saved us kind of thing, but you don't have like a constant, you know, Ilya standing on the side going, Sugoi, Sugoi. It's just her just destroying something. So it works. I think in the end it works because I just like the characters. So I want them to be overpowered. Not that it's an overpowered main character that the show wants me to think is amazing. But anyhow, that's my thoughts on episode 5 of Magical Revolution. Fantastic episode, great animation, great character developments, everything. Everything freaking works. I love it. And I cannot wait for more. And we're only 5 episodes into this core, which is crazy to think that we had such an amazing episode halfway through it. But looking forward to more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know what's thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list if it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, and a membership button down below. Greatly appreciate what it does, and y'all take care.